you know how it goes. If you are familiar with the channel, if you're familiar with my live work on X or YouTube, is the guest always gets the first pick. Now, of course, Dom, that is yours to do whatever you want with. You want to trade down, you want to stick and pick, you want to draft a kicker with the seventh overall pick. You're more than welcome to do whatever you want to do.
All right. Well, let's get this rocking and see what happens.
All right. So, wow. All right. So, crazy right off the bat. Let's take a look at these first six picks. Crazy. Got Shadur Sanders 1, Cam Ward 2, Mason Graham, Travis Hunt. I mean, that would be insane. I actually did explore like the realm of possibility where like the Giants would take Graham over like say Sanders is on the board and Abdul Carter is on the board. Like I feel like you would have to take Carter, no? But like
I would think so
yeah,
too. I
yeah,
mean,
right?
listen, but it's not out of the. Listen, I think Carter is head and shoulders the best prospect in this class
Agreed.
overall. I think Graham is my ninth ranked prospect. It's not far off. But if they said, "Hey, listen, we're comfortable. We're paying Burns. We're comfortable with Kayvon. We're gonna hope to extend Kayvon if they believe in him." Then if you put in, if you think about that, if they believe in Kayvon Thibodeau, the Giants, and you roll out a D line that has Sexy Dexy and Mason Graham in the middle of Kayvon and Brian Burns, it's pretty filthy.
Yeah.
So is it going to happen? I don't know. Would it be? It's not the craziest idea. But these guys here, maybe with the exception of Jahdae Barron, the five are, I think we can assume that are going to be off the board. Maybe not in this order, but
in some order.
Yeah, in some order, those five will be off the board. And then the Raiders took Jahdae Barron over, Ashton Genty or whomever they want. So we're on the clock here, I guess, right?
Yes, sir.
Look, we were talking about off the air, Pete. I think the Jets can go a ton of different ways, and you can make an argument for it. I mean, right now there's the big time holes in the tight end room, in the wide receiver room. You need competition for a core of four at right tackle if the goal is to give him a chance to start. The defense is like Swiss cheese all up and down the defensive line, with depth especially. You probably only have one safety in the room right now. I think the cornerbacks are pretty solid. I think you got a solid five in Sauce and Michael Carter and the kid from Baltimore. Why can't I think of his name?
Brandon Stevens.
Brandon Stevens, yes. And then you have some depth pieces in JBC and Quantez Stigger. So that's probably the room that's I'd say the most complete and the most stable. So you can make an argument to go any which way here. I'm going to. I have the choice. You said I can trade down if
you
I'd
could
like,
do
right?
whatever you want, sir.
Let's do this. I'd like to entertain a little trade down, because I think with the Ashton Gentis on the board, there's going to be teams that are interested in coming up. The Bears are one for sure. I don't know who's offering us here.
Well, we have now. Don't forget that this is fantasy land. So if you wanted to use your logic and say, well, the Bears are on the board, that's actually a trade that I made in my first round mock with Josiah earlier this week. I actually had the Bears trade up to 7 because the Raiders did pass on Genty. We could always just force the trade and make the compensation look good. But the three teams that are offering, the only one in the first round is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 19.
Who the New York Giants? They want to come up from 19.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see who they're probably going for there.
Yeah, you know what? Let's keep it. Let's keep make believe land kind of sort of on the rails. I'll stick and pick here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you that I'm probably going to lean towards the offensive side. I think you can make a fair argument for three guys. Your wide receiver one, whoever it is, if it's Ted McMillan or not. I think you can make an argument for Tyler Warren, and I think you can make an argument for right tackle. I'm going to stick to my board, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Tyler Warren, the tight end. He's a 6 overall player. I think what he can offer, not only as a pass catcher, but in multiple facets. You can play him in line. You can play him as a big slot. He can pull. He can pull and kick out as an H back. You can line him up as a quarterback and tush push with him if you want. There's just so many different facets that he has, and it kind of fills. It's that perfect blend of need and talent that I'm going to go ahead and feel comfortable with Tyler Warren off the board here for me at number 7.
Yeah, I mean, really, at this point in the draft cycle for me, I'm really just entertaining Membu and Warren, making a
Mhm.
case for Tet whenever I can. It truly
Yeah.
depends on how those first 6 picks go.
Yeah.
But you know me, I mean, you know how I am. I'm a trade down whore.
Yeah.
I love gaining draft capital, whether it be for this year or next year. So
Yeah,
I
and
always
I think Muji is going to do everything in his power to trade down. I really, really believe that. You can see some of the little hints are being dropped that the Jets are
Mhm.
interested in this quarterback and the Jets want this and that. But I think that if he has his druthers, he'll trade back a little bit, gain some capital, try to pick up that third round pick that you lost to Philly for next year, if nothing more for this year, so on and so forth. So
Quite interesting here. Now, I just did mention that I am a trade down whore, and I did see Seattle wants to move up 8 spots. That is something that I think I'd be willing to entertain to pick up potentially that later third round pick that they have, which
uh-huh.
coincidentally was the Jets pick
Oh
way
yeah.
back when. Let me just see who's on the board. I'm very tempted to see who's on tackle here. Oh, okay. Well, let's see. That's interesting. That's usually a scenario that I never really see here. Uh, D line, I did just check. I didn't really like what I saw here. Um, I know you're a big Josh Farmer guy.
I am. I
I know
am.
you're a big Josh Farmer guy, and you're
Yeah.
also a big. Oh, he is gone. Darius Alexander is gone. Let's see where he wound up going. 36, he went.
And it's probably a good comfortable spot for him right there.
Who did the Jaguars pick in the first round? Was it? Oh, it was Abdul Carter. My
Abdul
God,
Carter.
can you Abdul Carter and Darius Alexander? Oh,
Filthy.
as you want to talk about a trench overhaul. That's pretty fantastic. But yeah, I think I'm going to entertain a trade down here. There are a couple intriguing prospects, but I don't really necessarily love the way that the board has fallen at this point. I'm going to see if I can get this 93 back. That's probably going to be it for me. I mean, 8 spots, acquiring 93 is probably
Yeah,
pretty good value there.
absolutely.
Uh, let's see what happens here. They do accept it. So we're going to move back 8 spots and we're going to see how the board falls then and there. Let's see. I mean, I would love to take Jaden Higgins here. That's nice. How do you feel about
I think so. I'll tell you. I think if you go Tyler Warren, I think you can veer off it, and it's a 50-50 shot. If you want to go with the wide receiver like Higgins, that true X build,
Mhm,
who will support or complement Garrett Wilson very well, you can make an argument for it. If you wanted to go and bring in competition, probably someone who will start on the right side
mhm,
in Ariante Ursary, 335 pounds. I mean, huge power profile, real good movement skills. I think he'll be a good fit in that wide zone if that is the kind of the offensive line scheme that they do run in this new Engstrom West Coast offense. I think
mhm,
it makes sense as well. The question I would pose to you is, if you pass on tackle here, are you comfortable with those round 3 tackles, those 90 to 110? Um, because if you are, you might not. If you are, you might consider the wide receiver. Now, remember too, Justin Fields and this offense, I'm sure, is going to be run heavy first.
yep,
So could you supplement? Do you need to spend this high capital on a wide receiver, or could you get a guy in the 4th round that you might be comfortable with? Maybe back it up with a guy in the 6th round as well. Listen, I'm not going to pressure you. I think you can go either way if those are the 2 guys on the board.
I am pretty now with that extra third round pick now, I do
Mhm.
feel quite comfortable potentially passing, looking
Okay.
at someone at 92. Um, I do like Cameron Williams. I think he needs a year or 2 of development before he could actually be like a
Yeah,
passable right tackle at the NFL level.
yeah.
I'm a big
I
Chase
agree
Lunt
on that.
guy too.
Yeah,
I do like Chase Lund quite a bit, and I think he would be there at 92 or 110. That's a really athletic, little light around
yeah,
that 300-pound mark.
yeah.
6'8", really light, really athletic.
Yeah,
Um,
good power profile too. I
yeah,
mean, that he plays with as well. I mean, I saw, and again, I'm not trying to sway you. I like Anthony Belton. I think he's a,
I
I think he can plug and play. And he's got that, like Ursary, he's got that inside outside versatility that if for some reason you figure out after year one or two you can't cut it a tackle, well, guess what? You have two guards that are playing on their last year of deals. You can kick one of
mhm.
those guys inside.
Now I just wanna entertain this for a second. I just wanna
Hmm.
see who's on the board. Jared Ivey is, like we said off camera that edge is a bigger need than a lot of people really, I guess, care to think.
Hmm.
Uh, Ivy is interesting here, but I think I did see Kevin Winston on the board too. This is a tough one, here
Yeah.
at 50. I love Winston. I really do. I
Yeah,
love
me
his
too.
tackling ability too is something that just screams Aaron Glenn. Uh, yeah, I think I'm actually gonna go with Kevin Winston here, to be honest with you.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
I do. I this is a pl I've loved him for quite a while.
Yeah,
His tackling is something that really speaks to me, run support as well. I mean, the guy's just for me, I feel like he's just so instinctual. He's really good in every facet of the game that you want a safety to be, and we
yeah,
know how much Aaron Glenn values a safety in a
yeah,
defense.
and it's a perfect compliment to Andre Cisco too,
Yeah.
because he can play up in the box. So you talked about how he fits the run very well, but he's athletic. He can
Mhm.
flip his hips. He can run. Again, I'm expecting Wilkes and AG to have a very man-heavy profile on the back seven of their defense, and he can run with tight ends. He can cover running backs. So he's got that athleticism. He's versatile enough where if you want to play some too high post, he can do that with Cisco as well. So I have no problem. He's a top 40 player for me, Winston. You hope that the back injury is healed, and,
Yeah.
and I'm sure at this point, they know or the NFL knows how he stands with that. But still just 21 years old, got a lot of football left. I love the pick. And look, back to back Nittany
I know.
Lions.
I just realized that too. You never realize it until I love this your picks because if you remember PFF, it says right there new. You
Yeah.
remember I always had to write it down when I used PFF because I never remembered who I picked.
Yep.
Now you can finally see it. But that's right. I went over to your picks and I'm like, oh wow, two Penn State guys back to back.
And that leaves me on the clock here at what, 70 something?
73. Yes.
Oh man. Um I mean, we still can go tackle, although, I do love Ozzy Trapillo. I like the fact that
I
he
know you
is
do.
a right tackle. His length is real. And that gives you two really big, really long um tackles on the outside. He's going to be hard to pass up here. Alfred Collins, I think, is a really good fit
Hmm.
for what the Jets want next to Quinn and Williams because he's a guy that's going to, that's going to clog some lanes up. He's going to two gap, run first, run stuffer, early down guy. For me, and this is just me, this is a great defensive line class.
Hmm.
Um,
I agree.
I still think it's a little rich because I think the value of the guys that can play early downs or stuff to run, you could still get some value down the road. So
Hmm.
for me, I'm leaning here. I'm leaning tackle or I'm leaning edge, um, because I think that's probably where the juice is.
Let's
Now,
see.
there's guys on the board that I know I like. Elijah Roberts, I think, is a phenomenal player.
Hmm.
Um, he gives you inside outside versatility, very similar to JFM's skill set in the sense that he can set an edge and fit the run from the end, and on passing downs he can bump inside. I mean, he is the prototypical bull in the china shop. I mean, power rusher galore. Yeah, I'm assuming, I don't know if he's on the board here. Well, Jordan Birch is here too, and Jordan Birch is really good. I think he's more of an odd man front,
Hmm.
five tech. So I'd probably shy away from him. So for me, it's probably going to be Elijah Roberts or Ozzy Trapillo.
That's a choice.
Yeah, and knowing some of these guys that are going to be on the board later, Give me Trapillo and
Yes.
give me the right tackle.
Yes.
Yeah, listen, the length is real. The skill set is good. You have there's something to be said that, and I'm sure he'll go into competition with Okafor. I'm not saying he's going to earn the spot right away, but you have 10 years now with bookend tackles between what you drafted last year and what you draft this year. For me, that's gold.
I love it. I
Yeah,
he's someone that I always sound like I feel like a broken record whenever I post a mock draft from PFN. I have a lot of downtime at work, so like every day I'm just loading up PFN or PFF and I'm just throwing in like some different prospects, and I always end up on Trapilo as someone that's either at on PFN he's a little lower, but he's
hmm
always either my 73 pick on PFF or 110 on PFN, and I'm just like I can't stray away from it. I love his game. A lot of people, I had someone comment, they were like, shows how much you know trusting a Boston College prospect. And I said, hey, you got to scout the player, not the helmet. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like that's a ludicrous answer for that. I mean, he's a fantastic player, and
yeah.
I
I
know
mean, the power
he's a
profile is
heartthrob of
there.
yours.
The length is real. The length plays in the NFL. The power profile is there. His movement skills at 6'7", 315 pounds are really good. Now he will battle like the tall tackles problems. Like he will lose the leverage battle
Hmm.
sometimes. But I think the team gets better with guys like Ozzy Traprio on there.
Now, I mean, I already know who I'm picking here, but I just want to entertain some other. There's one other player that I want to look to see if he's there. He is not. Okay, so I'm taking Jalen Royals here. I think
Yes,
that's
home run.
pretty easy choice there. I
Yeah.
mean, what can I say about Jalen Royals that I haven't said yet, or that you haven't said yet?
Yeah. Man, if he wasn't injured, I think that he's in, and I mean this wholeheartedly. I think his skill set is good enough that he's talked about at the end of round one. I know it won't happen this year because he's coming off the injury, battled back. But when you talk about explosiveness,
Yeah,
when you talk about the nuance in his route running, the way he sets it up, the way he uses his head and his shoulders to gain separation. He sinks his hips over his toes and can cut like on a dime, all that stuff. He's not big, but at 6 foot 205, he's stocky.
more than enough
He
size.
yeah, he plays with really good contact balance, and he goes up and gets the ball, man.
Hmm.
He goes up and gets the ball. I love Jalen Royals, and this
Yeah,
to me that's perfect. This is a
yeah,
perfect
and this
start
is
right here.
exactly kind of like what we envisioned at the start. You're looking at that. You know, round three, maybe if we didn't trade back and get that extra third round pick, you're looking at that round four around there. You can get guys like this. I think Royals is a day two lock at this point. Also, a year removed from that 15 touchdown season where he really just kind of lit the world on fire, and he's an exceptional player, and he was well on his way. I know that he wasn't on his way to breaking 15 touchdowns this year, but I know he was definitely going to break his yards from the year prior before he got injured. He's just a fantastic player, and it's really for me like I usually use this stack, and it's kind of almost like for like, but around usually 162, I usually like to try and stack him with Ricky White just because I love Ricky White. But
Mhm.
Royals is an exceptional player, and I would love to see, because you have that thinner, shifty Garrett Wilson, and then you have the stocky, also shifty Jalen Royals. I mean, it would be a nightmare to watch defenses try and man up against both of those guys, especially if one of them's coming over the middle. Like that's just a tall task for any defense.
Yeah, and you got to remember also, like as of right now, and I tend to believe that he's probably going to stay on the roster. You do have Alan Lazard, who gives you a little bit more of a different look and a different type and a different
Hmm.
body style. So you could get away with having two kind of those like twitchy short area quickness route running savants in Jalen Royals and Garrett Wilson, and then tie that in with old big nasty Alan Lazard. So
Big nasty Alan Lazard and his drops.
yeah, that's gonna happen. I guess it is what it is. So I'm up here, and
Yes,
listen, I,
sir.
I love the way this has started. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely am fine with how this happens. I think edge is definitely still in a
Yep.
need. I think anywhere along the defensive line we can look that way. But at this point, I think you could start. You can actually start taking a couple shots, right?
Hmm.
You know, the Jets, although they haven't brought in a big name, they filled that one tech spot, right? They brought in the Nadi from Kansas City, who
Right.
will get some play. He's a run stopper. I think a lot of people forget also late last year, we signed Fedarius Mathis from the
Hmm.
Washington. He's a practice squad player, so hopefully he gets some reps in there next to Quinnen. So I'm not necessarily dying for a one tech here.
Right.
Um, I
It
don't
does.
know.
It does seem like they have like the way, especially that those signings kind of came in bunches too. It feels like they signed Derek Nottie, then they signed Jay Tufele as well. On top of that, they signed another. They signed Byron Coward as well. So it was like,
Yes,
it was three defensive tackles in like an 18-hour period, which really made me think that maybe they're not willing to spend premium draft capital on a defensive tackle this year, or there's someone down the board that they're really, really enamored with that maybe they'll hope is there late day 2 or early day 3. But I've kind of switched my thinking to okay, the way that they've signed these players makes me think that it's not as big of a pressing need for them as it is for fans. I mean, fans skew everything, and they'd have you think that the world is ending on the. I mean, the defensive line's not great. Me and you could both agree on that.
yeah,
But you know, there are bodies. Those were signings to have bodies.
sure, sure. You have to plug. You have to plug. I think the biggest, and this is going to be said with, hear me out when I say it. I think the biggest hole you're going to have to fill is who's going to, Quinnen's not going to be on the field for 95% of the reps, right?
Yeah.
So who's going to fill that three tech, when he needs to take a series off or so on and so forth. They had well, I'm drawing my mind's out. I'm sick and my mind's not working. Who the heck is the guy that we signed from San Francisco and now he signed with Dallas?
Solomon Thomas.
Solomon Thomas, yeah.
Right.
Solomon Thomas, and not to say he played much better last year than he did the year before,
Hmm.
but he was part of the rotation. So I think you're going to have to fill those reps up. I think that you hope that LT3 will take some of them, especially on the passing downs. But he doesn't really offer much, in base or versus the run. He's much
Hmm.
more one note. So I think you're going to have a three tech that can come in here and do that. Like I'm a huge Ty Robinson fan. I think he can
I'm
he
Me
can
too.
absolutely play that. I know where he's on the board.
All right
Uh,
there.
yeah, at 244. But realistically, like this fourth, fifth round is probably where he's going to come off. Aeneas Pables is another guy that I think is really, really good. Reminds me, reminds me of a little M80. He's really short, he's stocky, and the way he just explodes. He wins a leverage battle all the time. Very Kalijah Cansey esque, who was one of my draft crushes from
Love
a couple
Kalijah
years, yeah,
Kancey.
from a couple years back. I just don't know with that slender frame how much he's going to hold up against the run. He might be a little too one note to what you already have in LT3.
Hmm.
So I'm probably going to lean towards the edge here.
Okay.
Um, and I think, yeah, Q Robinson's good. Yeah, Q Robinson's really good. I think Femi Aladejo, he's going to be. I think he's a pass rush specialist at the next level. Um, Give me a guy. Let's see. Do I want to go that way? Yeah, I think I will. I think I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Ashton Gelati. I think that you blend the speed and power. He's got that first step. Really, really active hands. I think he can play three downs. Although I think he has to get a little bit more consistent with his pass rush bag. Right now, he's a little bit bull rush and nothing more. So, but it's a good fit for what we need on the defense. He can take reps from Michael Clemens. He
Hmm.
can,
Oh,
he can
thank
play.
God.
He can play early downs if you want to take Will McDonald off the field as well.
I like that move a lot. That's something that I haven't really explored too much in the realm of like I usually just kind of throw Ethan Downs as someone that I like to put out there
Hmm.
later on the board. Yeah, edge is like you said, is a need that is quite sneaky here. Jackson Hawes here at 145 is quite
Yes,
interesting for me. Um, that's probably the route I'm going to go. I just want to check a couple other things here. I think interior offensive line is something that I think could be explored here in the later
absolutely.
rounds.
Yeah.
Luke Kandra is someone that love.
Yeah,
Uh,
Miles Frazier is always my
Miles-
target in
yep.
this round also. I think he's a perfect prospect, whether or not he pushes to start, because you get a guy like Miles Frazier in here, and there's no, listen, you might let him battle it out with Trapillo and with Okorafor for the right tackle
Mhm.
spot, and if he doesn't get it, well, then he's your pipeline guard, or Kandra, same thing,
Yeah.
pipeline guard. You have two guards that are on in walk years in Simpson and AVT.
Yeah, and that's huge, and I don't think a lot of people realize that ABT is in a walk year as well. You look at everyone says, oh, we got to re-sign Sauce, Brees, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson. You forget that AVT also is in need of an extension. Hopefully, I really hope he could play like 15, 16, 17 games this year and just kind of prove to everyone again how good he is, because in short term, he's always so good, but then we always lose him for the rest of the season.
Yep.
I would just love for him to stay healthy this year. And I mean, of course, if he stays healthy this year and plays great, he's going to get a bag. I mean,
Yep.
there's no way around it. And someone's going to have to be the odd man out at some point. But I kind of hope that that's someone that they do consider signing long term. I'm kind of stuck between interior offensive line here and Jackson Hawes, but I just think with the kind of personnel, like we said before, that they're going to try and run, I feel like having that big, nasty tight end that loves to drive guys that are trying to set the edge into the ground is something that's completely essential. Uh, I don't think that Jeremy Ruckert is your guy. I don't think Stone Smart is your guy when it comes to that.
Yep.
Tyler Warren is someone that he's not going to drive you into the ground. He could block well. But I think you need that nasty Aaron Glenn type of physicality and mentality. And I think I'm
Hmm.
going to take Hawes here at 145.
Yeah, I think if you can double up at the tight end group, you do. And you just completely revamp this room, right? Hawes is going to be, and you can move Hawes all over the formation. You can put him at fullback, you can put him at H back, you can have him lead block. He wants to block. Yeah, and there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that, man. There's nothing wrong with a skill set like, and it'll complement Stone Smart very well. Stone Smart's going to be receiving tight end too, and Hawes can be your blocking tight end too. And
Yeah,
there's your room is revamped.
I always say this. I love the Stone Smart signing for two reasons. One, because his middle name is Cole, and it's so close to Stone Cold Smart. And I mean, obviously, someone that grew up. I started to get into wrestling at the end of the Attitude Era because I was a little too young for that. That always interests me. And then, I just towards the end of last year, you really saw that, man, this guy is athletic. He could really catch the football. He was someone that kind of just emerged out of that. He was really buried, that clusterfuck, for a lack of a better term, of that tight end room
Mhm.
for the Chargers. He was really excelled towards the end of the season, and I was stoked when they signed him. I was like, this is one of those low key signings that I really really appreciated. And I think, I'm assuming that if they take two tight ends, Ruckert's probably going to be looking for a job elsewhere.
Yeah, I
Uh,
would. I mean, maybe not. I mean, maybe you keep him on the roster. Maybe he's not
yeah,
active. I don't know. You're not really paying him much, but if you have to move on from Ruckert, so be it.
yeah.
It's not going to be the be all end all here.
100%. You are on the board. Let's just take a look at those picks, just
Yep.
to remind ourselves here. Warren, Winston, Trapilo, Royals, Gelati, and Hawes here so far.
Yeah.
I love the way that it's fallen up until this point.
Yeah. Uh,
What are you thinking here at
so
162?
I mean, it's really for me. It's between two guys. It is between Miles Frazier and it is between Ty Robinson. Um, I think yeah, both are pushing it in terms of will they really be on the board here.
Hmm.
Um, but
Maybe
hey,
Ty Robinson more than Miles Frazier because he's an older player, also more of one note type of guy too. Missed tackle rate is really, really high too.
yeah,
Maybe.
but the
Oh, it's
motor
there.
and yeah, the
It's
motor
there.
and the will to play. Like I love the defensive tackles that are long and lean like him,
Mhm.
who just can kind of go. I think that's advantageous. But I digress. I talked about it enough. I think an interior offensive lineman um, is another really sneaky need for us. Again, Simpson and AVT both on 1 year deals. I'd like to follow that method that Philly and Baltimore use, and they draft a guy a year before they need him. Give me Miles Frazier here, um, and draft a guy a year before you need him, so you don't have to be forced. Your hand doesn't have to be forced come the off season leading into 2026. If you want to let one of them go, you do. You take the comp pick and you have your starter in place here.
No, I love it. And that's the type of thinking that I think you know, Dom, as you know as well as I do, in the world of the internet, where you have people thinking, well, we don't need an interior offensive lineman right now. Why are we taking it? That's the
Yeah,
type of thinking that I like to think with as well. It's like, all right, well, you're probably not going to sign both guys, especially if so many players are up for extensions.
yeah,
You need someone that's going to be able to plug and play, and getting a year of experience. And let's face it, offensive linemen do get hurt quite a bit. ABT is a high injury risk. Miles Frazier might see playing time. You never really know. So I think it's a fantastic pickup, and I love Miles Frazier.
yeah.
Uh, 186 here. I'm just going to see if Ty Robinson is on the board, because that would pretty much be my pick. That he is. I think that would be my pick. We talked a lot about him. Like you said, it's really pushing it, him being on the board at this point, but stranger things have happened. That's for sure. And
Yeah.
at
He comes in and he's part of the rotation right away.
yeah, you have to think, especially with. I mean, I don't like to knock signings before they actually play, but you look at someone like J. Tufele, who they signed basically to just be a warm body, because I think out of all the eligible, I don't go off of PFF stats a lot, because I think that what are we truly basing it off of if we're really
Hmm.
getting down to the nitty gritty?
Hmm.
But out of 124 eligible defensive tackles last year, who had enough, I think it was like run defending snaps. I think it was he was like 121st out of 124. So that's someone that I'm hoping is just a warm body that never has to see the field. And I think Robinson comes in as someone that is a little bit older, and yeah, like you said, just kind of comes into the rotation immediately. And hopefully you have a nice little nucleus there. You have Robinson, you have Leonard Taylor III, obviously Quinton Williams. Like, you could start to build with these younger guys. So I'm going to take Ty Robinson here pretty easily.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, if we ended with the fifth round or fifth and sixth with those two guys, I don't think he can go um, wrong at all for
Yeah.
sure. This is the last pick.
This is the last pick, my friend.
Oh man. So I don't know how you feel about it, but these picks, obviously you want to plug in some depth if you can, but I'm
Hmm.
looking for guys that can really be core special teamers, right?
Hmm.
Guy, because
Absolutely.
that's who they're going to make. So I'd like you to look in the safety room. I just want to see if there's a couple names that are there, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah, RJ Mickens is a guy that I'm going to consider here.
Hmm.
Dante Trader Jr. is another one. He's going to offer you a lot of special teams
Right.
play. I wish that Dante Trader had a little bit more versatility in his game. I think he's probably going to be a true free safety, center field, one high type.
Hmm.
I don't know how much he's just not, although he flies around the field, fit in the run, and he's a little bit undersized. It really doesn't do it. Can you hop to the cornerback room real quick?
Sure can. That is also the YouTube community is not going to like the fact that we haven't selected a corner, but we did preface this earlier on by saying that was probably one of the more complete groups that the Jets did have. I don't understand. I mean, I get it, but I kind of don't. I don't get why Jabbar Muhammad's so low on PFF.
Yeah. So my thought process here is why I want to look at the corners. If you can find a guy that has versatility, either in the safety or the corner room, that can do what Isaiah Oliver does, right? He can
Hmm.
play in the safety room, he can play in the cornerback room, he can help you out like big time on special teams. I think that you can, make a solid argument for him. That might be Mac McWilliams out of UCF there.
Hmm.
I don't know at 5'10", um, how much safety reps he's going to really give you. So I'm hesitant. I was really hoping to see like somebody like Caleb Ransaw out of
Oh
Tulane,
man,
or
I am a
or
huge
Upton
Caleb
Stout.
Branshaw guy.
Yeah, or Upton Stout. That's really how I was looking to play. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go. You can stop right there. This is a name that's not talked about a lot. I'm a Gator fan, man. Jason Marshall Jr. is the prototypical Aaron Glenn cornerback. Tall, long, press physical,
Mhm.
dog, press man cornerback. I think you add some depth, and why I'm willing to do that is, yes, we have Stiggers, yes, we have Quantez Stiggers and JBC, right? Both of those guys, I think, can also do what Isaiah Oliver do and play a little safety and a little cornerback. I think you bring Jason Marshall in. He's a backup for now, right? He can offer you something on special teams. He's a backup, but he can be a true outside corner. I'm not sure if Quantez Stiggers in this scheme can.
Mhm.
And JBC I think has better press man coverage skills than we've ever seen, but the guy just hasn't stayed healthy through college or through the pros, so he is still an unknown. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Jason Marshall here, and I'm going to kind of align a guy that I think is a perfect scheme fit for what Aaron Glenn wants in his cornerbacks. Even if it's a depth piece right now, he's a special teams guy. If Brandon Stevens doesn't work out, or you don't sign Sauce Gardner for some reason, you have a pipeline and you have a guy who you know that can play the type of football that you want to play. So it's a name that no one talks about a lot. I happen to be like I said, I happen to be a Gator fan, and man, his game and his press skills are there. They're legit.
Marshall is someone that if you go back early into the cycle, much higher on PFF's board, much higher on the board. Um, but yeah, no, I love that, and I think you're right with when it comes to Stiggers too. He's someone that I feel like is more. How do I put this? He's all or nothing. I
Yeah,
feel like type of corner where I feel like that would work a lot better at safety
yeah,
than
and remember, he's a 6th round pick.
yeah,
From a previous regime, there's no guarantee that he's long for the team. We all like him. We all like the story behind him, but
absolutely.
but this is a different regime, and I said it when we drafted him. I said 3 years from now you could be looking at your starting free safety. And
Yeah.
I think that's the role he can play. So, or he can play. So, Jason Marshall is a boundary cornerback. So I'm bringing in another boundary cornerback to back up Sauce and Brandon Stevens.
I'm so curious to see these. I love the grades. Always humble me. I don't care about the grades.
Yeah.
I don't draft based off the grades. But wow, I'm already seeing two really bad, poor grades there. Okay, we're getting a little better. Oh my goodness
Oh
gracious!
yeah, it did us a little dirty towards the end.
All right, so I always it's funny the one I did with Matt O'Leary last week or 2 weeks ago, I believe it was. I think like I had 4 picks, and I think, like, the highest grade I got was, like, a C. Everything was, like, a D or an F. I think I picked, like, Teddy Buchanan at, like, pick, like, 186 or something, and they just absolutely hated it, but I mean, I would walk away from this class being probably jumping for joy just off of the first 4 alone. And
Oh
then
yeah.
look at the value you get down the board. I mean, Gelati is someone that's fantastic. Hawes is going to block you into the ground. Frazier is someone that you could start basically everywhere. Ty Robinson. I mean, I would walk away from this
Mhm.
thrilled.
Absolutely.